Welcome back. Dragging yourself through the day because you're sleep deprived is really the worst. Here with tips for catching up on your Z's, we welcome back clinical psychologist Goli Sadie. Good to see you again, Goli.
Good to be here.
So let's first talk about the importance of sleep and how much do you think people should get?
So the research really suggests 8 to 9 hours.
8 to 9?
Yes.
That's quite a bit.
It is. A lot of people, they'll come to my office, they'll insist, I get by on 5, I get by on 6 hours of sleep.
Right.
But, believe it or not, even for college students, the recommended amount of time is 8 hours and 24 minutes.
Wow. Okay, so in order to get that amount of sleep, there are a few things that we have to do. And one of the things you say is to keep in mind sleep hygiene. What do you mean by that?
So sleep hygiene really is your behaviors, your environment surrounding sleep. So when you think about oral hygiene, right, it's healthy behaviors that you have.
Right.
And so, a lot of the research suggests that 40% of Americans actually struggle with sleep hygiene.
So how do you get your home ready?
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that you can do. So the first thing that I talk about is exercise. Exercise is a huge one that we know helps with a lot of different things, but really it can help us to sleep longer. It can help us to fall asleep faster and also improve the overall quality of our sleep. But the thing that we really want to be mindful of is we don't want to kind of do it at the end of the day. Because a lot of people will think, well, you know what, let me go exercise really hard, I'll be exhausted, fall into bed. But it actually has the opposite effect. Because
it gets you hyped up, doesn't it?
That's exactly what it does. And people don't oftentimes recognize that. So what you really want to do is think about having your exercise happen in the morning, in the afternoon. I know a lot of people are working, and so that's hard.
Yeah.
So, just time it earlier. Early is always better than later.
What about your environment, your bedroom?
Yeah, so that's another key one. So, when I assess clients for sleep, sometimes they'll say, well, there's bright lights going on, there's the television, there's a lot of noise. So you really want to...
There's my dog, there's my cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. So you really want to spend the last hour or so, I oftentimes say, to just wind down. So what that means is starting to dim the lights, and that really prepares the body for sleep. You really want to turn off the TV, the computer, your cell phone, put that away, because those bright lights that are emitted actually alerts your brain and wakes you up further. And so making sure that those are all off is one piece of it. But you also want to make sure you're in a cool, dark, quiet place. And depending on where you live, that might mean that you have to get those curtains that, sort of black out the light.
Right.
You might want to have earplugs, a sleep mask, whatever it takes, but you really want to make sure those are all components. The temperature is also a big one. Because if you're too hot, you're going to be...
uncomfortable.
Exactly. You're going to be throwing off the covers in the middle of the night, tossing and turning. So those are all a couple of the components of your environment that are really important.
And I did hear that pets are really a problem for a lot of people, but people refuse to kick their pets out of bed.
Exactly.
Which is what I do. The dog, the cat, they're all there. You also say it's important to attend to our physiological needs.
Yeah. So think about, are you hungry? Are you thirsty, right? Sometimes we'll just go into bed and expect sleep to come, but you really want to be mindful. Maybe having a light snack before bedtime. You obviously don't want to have a huge meal because that's, not going to help you to sleep.
Right.
But something like warm milk or yogurt, a lot of times the research will suggest that dairy can be helpful because it contains tryptophan, so what's in turkey, right? And calcium, and so those two work together. I sometimes suggest, consult with a family physician. Maybe a supplement of something like a magnesium, calcium sometimes work together and help, but also caffeine. So manage the caffeine intake. So the Academy of Sleep Medicine suggests that the half-life of caffeine is 3 to 5 hours. So that's the amount of time it takes for just half of the caffeine to leave your body.
Oh, wow.
So caffeine can be in our body from 8 to 14 hours. And that's a long time. So you really want to make sure that you're not having caffeine maybe past, let's say, noon, 1 o'clock, because it's something that will really last and hit you when it's time to go to sleep.
Now, I know a lot of people use, Dave Anderson is one of them, has used the NyQuil to help you get to sleep when there's too much going on and you can't shut the brain off. What do you think about, sleeping aids like that?
So those actually don't help. They're counterproductive. What often happens is that you will first be able to fall asleep, but then you'll wake up in the middle of the night. So it's something that will sort of wear off. So a lot of people, for example, will say, well, a glass of wine helps me unwind.
Right.
But that's actually something that's not good for the body and that isn't helping you sleep. So things like a lot of the sleep medications that people will start to become addicted to.
Right.
Right? But oftentimes thinking about, what are the things that naturally might help? So sometimes, chamomile tea, the warm milk, sometimes a bath, ways of relaxing and unwinding. It could be reading a book or knitting or praying, painting. There's tons of things that people can do, and it's really figuring out what is it for you that works best.
You were also talking about the information I was reading is give yourself that time. You say give yourself more than enough time to read or relax before you sleep, because we often think, okay, 8 hours, then we get in bed, and then an hour or two later, then we're finally falling asleep.
That's so true. You know, and sometimes there's that anxiety of like, you know, I'm looking at the clock, it's, you know, winding down. So sometimes I'll say even cover up that clock. So put some Kleenex over that glaring bright, or some fabric or something like that. But really, because you need 8 to 9 hours, leaving sometimes even 10 hours to be in bed can be helpful. So that if you're losing an hour or two here and there, it's not a big deal. You're still going to be fine.
You say take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Is that like, are you meditating before you go to bed? Do you suggest that?
That could be really helpful for folks. So sometimes taking a few deep breaths can be really helpful. What happens is it's really a self-fulfilling prophecy. So let's say you didn't sleep well the night before, then you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, what if this happens again and I can't fall asleep? And so a lot of anxiety builds up. And so really saying, breathe, maybe meditate. You know, I heard one expert say that maybe 20 minutes of meditation is as restful as a full night's sleep.
Really?
Yeah. So thinking about the fact that, you know, even if you don't sleep, you're going to be okay the next day. And I think, you know, we catastrophize in our minds and think, oh my gosh, everything's going to be terrible the next day. But saying, you know what, I might be groggy, I might be a little bit tired, but I can pretty much do what I need to do for the next day.
But there is nothing like when you wake up and you realize I've had a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
That's great. The opposite end of that is waking up and thinking, oh, I need to take a nap.
Exactly.
Just as soon as you get up, which I felt, oh, I can't wait for my nap. All right, we're going to put some information, tips that you've given us on our website at k2.com. Good to see you again,
Good
Lily.
to be here. Thank you.